Movie Cigars and a Brew. I'm your host, Keith, and tonight I'm going to talk to you about a movie that you may not have heard of. It's called Seymour, an Introduction. I got to see this movie recently as a part of the Philadelphia Film Society. It's a movie directed by Ethan Hawke. It's really a biography about a very remarkable man who Ethan Hawke had ran into at one point, and I think he was so inspired that he almost looks to him as a mentor in some ways. And you could see that with him. I'm of course talking about Seymour Bernstein. You know, he was a concert pianist. He's a very elderly man at this point. He's in his 80s, at least at the time of the movie. You don't get a lot of sense about this man's life beyond that which he tells through anecdote. What you do know and what you can find out is that he loved piano from a very young age, long before his family even had a piano. Starting at age 6, I think they eventually got him a piano so that he started to play and practice. And by 15, his teacher already had him teaching other younger students, and at 17 he'd won a Griffith Artist Award. So he was a very precocious individual. He was in the military as well, and he had he played on the front lines during the Korean War. And then after the war, he played all over the place and all around the world. He does recount a story in there about having someone who kind of paid his way to go do all of these things, and let him stay in a house. And sounded as though it was a woman that had an interest in him. And I think eventually he got uncomfortable with that after living in this beautiful mansion in Scarsdale, I believe is where they said it was, for about a year, and then he extricated himself from that. You don't really get to know very much about his life because it's not really a story where they come in and show you his little house where he grew up and talk to all the people that knew him. You really don't know if he has any family whatsoever. The only sense you get from him about his own life is that the beginning of the movie opens with a view of him like cooking breakfast, I think, in his house, apartment, which is a little tiny apartment in Manhattan, where it is mentioned that I think he's lived there for about 50 years. So that's kind of remarkable in that sense. But beyond that, I mean, the guy he retired in 1977 at age 50 in 1977 from playing performances and devoted himself to teaching. And, you get to see him teaching his students. He has a very varied, and all of them highly skilled. He's not doing any Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. They're doing some pretty fantastic stuff that would be way above most people's ability. But you kind of see this movie, and it's kind of interesting doing this one after having done Whiplash, is the last movie reviewed, which you can go listen to. And I suggest you do. It was excellent. It was a fun movie. It's almost a counterpoint to the Fletcher. It's not, you don't have, he's not overbearing. He's a quiet little grandfatherly man that, you can kind of see immediately why Ethan Hawke was drawn to him. He has a very casual delivery and a pleasant demeanor. So and he also seems to be very wise, and he says things that kind of really kind of get you into that frame. But that being said, there was almost an element in this movie when he talked about his decision to stop performing, and he was 50 years old, and so he'd performed for quite a while, but he almost looked haunted to me in that. I don't know. I kind of feel like there's more of a story there, behind that, because he really just says that he didn't want to become neurotic, and there was some talk about some people that had become that way, and the reason being is that to perform at such a high level just takes a toll. And that, in that sort of essence, that really kind of aligned itself for me with what we saw in the fictitious, Whiplash, where, when you perform at that high a level, usually what you do to yourself is the the worst element of what can occur. I mean, you can just turn into somebody through your pursuit of excellence and your pursuit of perfection. It's just, it's a battle where you're fighting against yourself and your own expectations. And they kind of, in that movie, obviously, took that push externally and put it in the form of Fletcher, in the movie Whiplash. But there is an element of that, I think, that every musician probably carries around. It's just to what a degree they have. They possess that. So I think it's interesting. That being said, you get a final tidbit is that Ethan Hawke gets him to actually perform for the first time since 1977 in a concert hall setting, and there was mentioned that there was a lot of stars type people there because obviously they'd probably been friends of Ethan Hawke's and et cetera that were there, and he almost casually mentions this, but I did pick up on it. He goes, I practiced for 8 hours a day for a year prior to this performance, and none of us have that type of a fixation on perfection, and he obviously did, and he gave a wonderful performance, and without a doubt, the music, etc., the pacing of this movie, everything was really pretty good. I think it's something you probably won't get to see in the theater. It's got a very limited run, but when it does come out to where you can watch it on video, if you've ever had an interest in music, and if especially if you like the movie Whiplash, this is kind of a good one to see, and just to kind of see, how this man, dealt with things in life. And I still kind of feel like there's some more interesting story there that they didn't even bring out. But even as it is, he's a wonderful little man that I enjoyed seeing, and I think you will too. So stay tuned for more reviews. Go to moviecigarsandabrew.com and give us a like, and continue to listen wherever you're listening to us from. We'll talk to you again soon.